Oftentimes, we break the promises to ourselves, and that's the big reason why people feel stuck and they don't really see it. You know, your power starts to leak every time you say X and don't do it. You say X and do Y, it's like a little pinhole of power leak. Welcome to Be Unmessable With, the podcast about how to live the life of your dreams now, not someday, and be unmessable with no matter what life throws at you. My name is Josselyne Herman-Saccio. I am your host. I am a master coach, vision architect, and thought partner who has been coaching people for more than 35 years. And I've worked with more than 200,000 people. I know that sounds insane, right? But 200,000 people. And one of the things that I've discovered, the biggest thing that messes with people is their relationship to their word. Now, what does that mean? Well, we're going to dive into it in this episode for sure, because your relationship to your word is key to being unmessable with. When your word is unmessable with, you are unmessable with. So just look for yourself. When you promise a friend that you're going to show up, do you show up? When you commit to a work deadline, do you meet it? But what about those promises that you make to yourself? You know, like I'm going to wake up early and do yoga every morning this week, or I'm going to start that next project on Monday, or I'm going to write that book or start that company or prioritize your health. The foundation of real power isn't built through external accomplishments. It's built through keeping your word not only to others, but also to yourself. And oftentimes we kind of put ourselves last, so to speak. And in this video, I'm going to show you why that one shift changes everything. So stay in the video and listen up. Here we go. Let me tell you about something that actually happened with one of my clients, recently. So she came into my session with her and she was, 7-figure business owner, very successful, high performer, crushing it by all external metrics. But in our first session, she said, I keep making promises to myself and then I don't keep them. I keep saying that I'm going to take care of myself and I'm not. I'm putting everybody else first. I keep saying I'm going to spend more time with my kids, finally write that book. But I never do it. It keeps getting kicked down the road, like kicking the can down the road. And I'm starting to really resent myself for it. Like actually, she said hate myself for it, which is pretty strong, right? But this is what happens when we break promises to ourselves. It isn't just about the thing we didn't do, like the yoga class you didn't go to or the, vitamins you didn't take. It's about who we start to devolve into in the process of saying things and then not fulfilling on them. And today I am going to show you exactly how to transform this pattern using the same framework that has helped hundreds of my high-performing clients build unshakable trust in themselves. Self-trust is a big deal for people, and unmessable withness. Okay, it might not be a word, but it is now, and we're going to go with it. So first, I want to ask you, what was the last promise you made to yourself? Kind of see if you can call it up. And did you keep it? Let's talk about the things that really happen when you break promises to yourself. Even when you break promises to others, but most people are a little bit stronger about keeping promises to other people, less to themselves. Every time you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you say X and you do Y, it sends a powerful message to your brain. What it says is, my word doesn't matter. My word is not count-onable. I can't count on me. What I want for myself isn't really as important as other things. And another way I like to say it is, I can't take my word to the bank. And if that resonates with you, this, episode will really support you in breaking that pattern. Think about it. Would you repeatedly break your word to your best friend or your spouse or your clients or your children? Of course not. And by the way, if your answer is, yeah, I do all the time, then that's a whole other conversation. And then you should probably listen to this episode about 10 times. So somehow we normalize breaking our word to ourselves. It's like we justify it, we rationalize it, we got explanations for it. We treat our own word as optional or negotiable based on mood or reasons or circumstances. Like, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow morning, and then you wake up and you don't feel like it, or you got less sleep than you expected. So it's like, I'll go tomorrow. And then tomorrow never comes. So here's what the research shows. According to studies from the American Psychological Association, self-trust is directly correlated with confidence, resilience, and overall life satisfaction. I mean, that's huge. So self-trust is pretty important. When you consistently say X and do X, you consistently honor your commitments to yourself, you're building what psychologists call self-efficacy, which is the belief in your ability to achieve what you set out to do. I mean, you can, logically make the connection there that if you don't believe in what you're setting out to do, your likelihood of achieving what you want to achieve is much less. So here's where it gets really, really interesting. In my work with successful entrepreneurs and executives, one thing that I've noticed, it's actually something fascinating, is the ones that struggle with overwhelm. These are the ones that struggle the most with like overwhelm and imposter syndrome and burnout, often have a pattern of breaking self-promises. It's directly correlated. They're reliable to everyone else, pretty much, but constantly or consistently negotiate with their word to themselves. It's like, well, I'll do 50 sit-ups instead of 100 sit-ups because I'll make it up tomorrow. I mean, the whole negotiation thing really messes with them. So I want to share key principles that will support you in breaking through and transforming this pattern. The first one is the non-negotiable principle. So first, we need to understand that your word to yourself isn't about motivation, and it's not about mood. It's about integrity and discipline, which are like the worst words. They're not attractive, right? Not very inspiring words, but they are the key to power, freedom, and peace of mind. Those are inspiring and attractive. So when my client, Sarah, who's a CEO of a fast-growing startup, first came to me, she was constantly breaking promises to herself. And she had no self-trust. She couldn't count on her own word. And it was all about her morning routine, And she would say, well, I'm just not motivated enough to get up and do what I said I was going to do. But here's what changed. This is what changed the whole deal for her. We shifted her framework from motivation to word, from having to feel a certain way to what did she create in her word. See, your word isn't about how you feel. It's about who you are and what you're creating. In the world of reaction, you got moods and feelings. In the world of creations, you've got word and vision. So you make a commitment to someone else. It's like when it comes time to do that commitment, are you like, I don't know if I feel motivated? No, you simply do it because you said so. So because I said so becomes sort of the mantra. So the same has to apply to the promises that you make to yourself. It isn't about how you feel or what the circumstances, if it's raining, if it's I said so, I do it. I say X, I do X. The second part of this is the small wins system. Here's where most people get it wrong. They start too big. They want to make a promise that they're going to change their entire life in one day. I'm going to eat differently. I'm going to exercise 5 times a week. I'm going to stop eating sugar. I mean, it's like too much. Instead, start with what I call integrity anchors. They're small daily promises that you can absolutely keep. It would almost be ridiculous if you couldn't keep them, right? Another client of mine, his name was Michael, was overwhelmed with the idea of getting back in shape. So he was like, that's it. I'm sick of this. I'm just gonna, work out every day. And it was like, no. So instead of promising himself that he'd work out for an hour every day, we started super small. We started with 2 minutes a day. Now, that is so doable and keepable. It would be ridiculous. Like, what reason or justification could you have not to do 2 minutes of movement every morning? It sounds ridiculously small, but let me tell you what happened. After consistently honoring his word for the 2 minutes of movement every morning, he began to trust his word, and he built it up and he built it up and he built it up. And now 6 months later, he's consistently working out 5 times a week for an hour. But it was natural, it flowed. It wasn't a force where you force yourself to do something that is undoable at first. He rebuilt his relationship with his own word. That's the key thing. If you say X and do Y enough times, you stop listening to your word like it's real. So the third part of this process is the power pause protocol. Say that 3 times fast. So before making any promise to yourself, implement what I call the power pause protocol. And you take 3 deep breaths and ask yourself, am I willing to stake my self-trust on this commitment? This simple practice, this little pause, prevents kind of casual self-promises that you have no intention of keeping and no structure for keeping, and we so often break. One of my clients, Jen, used to casually promise to herself that she'd write her book someday. I'm going to write my book someday. Yes, I should really be writing every day. But when she implemented the power pause protocol, like, I love saying that, I got to get it right, power pause protocol, she realized she wasn't actually committed to writing the book every day for an hour. Instead of making and breaking these promises to herself, she consciously chose to focus on a smaller writing commitment. And here's the result. She's now consistently writing 500 words a day. 500 words a day. She is so on her way to completing this book. It's like a joke, but she had to start with specific, smaller promises to build the muscle of saying X and doing X. It wasn't about writing. It was about her word and honoring her word. Saying X and doing X no matter what. Not letting the reasons and justifications and moods creep into the picture. So let me show you how to implement this in your own life. Take out your phone right now and open your notes app or write down on a piece of paper. And I want you to write down 1 promise that you are willing to make to yourself. Not 10 promises, not 50 promises, not even 3, just 1 promise. Make it something so small, so doable, that it would be almost impossible to break it. Remember, this isn't about the size of the promise. It's about rebuilding the foundation of self-trust. When you become someone who can actually keep even the smallest of promises to yourself, your word becomes unmessable with. It's like there's nothing you can't create. You could say double my business this quarter and you will. You could say intimacy my marriage and it happens, because it isn't about what you promise. It's your word. It's about your relationship to your word. So pick that promise, keep it, track it, and rinse and repeat. Okay, so keep track of it and repeat it day after day and have that experience of yourself, of someone who can say something and have it happen. Not because you should, not to prove anything to anyone else, and not because of anything other than your word matters. And your word to yourself is the foundation of an unmessable with life. If you can say X and have X happen, it's like your word becomes a law in the universe, for real. When you become someone who keeps not only promises to others, but promises to yourself, actually has a word in the matter of everything in your life, you develop something so much more valuable than any external accolade or achievement. This is unshakable self-trust, power, freedom, the freedom and ability to create and fulfill. And that changes everything. Your confidence, your decisions, your actions, and ultimately your results. And I'm telling you, this is a world to explore and master, the world of word. And if this resonated with you, I want you to do 3 things right now. Okay, get ready. Here we go. The first thing is share this video. Share it with somebody who really needs to hear it right now, right? Tag them in the comments below so that they can get the value that you got. You can share it with them. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is to download my 5 daily practices. It's free. 5 daily practices to be unmessable with. It's 5 things you can do every day to begin to build this muscle of saying X and doing X and building an unshakable self-trust. It's going to show you exactly how to implement what we've covered today, plus give you like a complete framework, an actual step-by-step process for building unstoppable self-trust. And the third thing I want you to do is click the link to my brand new, never before offered workshop. It's a 4-week workshop called Word Bootcamp, where you'll be able to work with me and develop the muscle of your word so that your word is law in the universe, so that you build the kind of power with your word where it's almost like you could say chair and a chair would fall out of your mouth. This is what I call abracadabra kind of work, where your word is your wand. Abracadabra means with my word, I create. Your word with yourself, your word with others sets the tone for everything in your life. So let's make your word unmessable with. And if you resonated with this, I will see you in the next video where we will dive even deeper into how to live the life of your dreams now, not someday, and be unmessable with.